At first, my story was pretty raw and kind of terrible. So whenever I talked about it, it wasn't in a good space either for me, usually, or for other people. But I really didn't start sharing my story until I was getting help myself for some of the problems I have. So I first started doing it privately, actually, and even in therapy, if you will. But man, that morphed to where I would say probably about 20 years after my dad died, I got engaged in work that has to do with prevention and with helping other bereaved people. And then my sharing of my story completely flipped to where it's hard to call it a positive thing, but it was a really meaningful and constructive thing that happened to me in a way that was really safe and felt like I was. Felt like I was connected to people when I was talking to them, and they felt like they were connected to me. But that wasn't my experience, especially in the first decade after my father died. At almost 20 years after my dad died, I started having some problems like he had with depression and like serious problems. And I wound up going to a peer grief support group. And so there's no doubt in my mind that this is what changed my ability to it's not just changing my ability, but I got it when I had not been with people one at a time, or I'd run into people or whatever who had experienced the death of a loved one by suicide. But when I walked into a room and there were like 12 other people in there, and I stayed with them for a long time, like over a couple of years. But immediately after that, it was okay. I had a setting where there were other people, and then I started getting involved in volunteer work around prevention and advocacy. So that just opened a door to all kinds of spaces where it was totally not only acceptable but helpful to me and to other people, to share my story, and yeah. So I've done that now for 20 years in all kinds of spaces, written about it. And including for me, it also extends to the fact, like I say, I have my own mental health problems or whatever that are all in remission or treated, or I'm in recovery or whatever you say. But when my dad died, I was an active addict, and I didn't get clean until 12 years after he died. So there was a lot of things that I have a lot of story, that I struggled with figuring out what to do with besides my dad dying by suicide. And so that all has come together for me and started to come together when I was around other people.